Up to the jury, and I want to focus on this body right now. Among the 12 jurors selected for the panel are 3 black men, 1 black woman, and 2 jurors who identify as multiracial. Now, if none of the 3 alternates are needed, then half of the panel that will vote on Chauvin's fate will be black or multiracial. But here's what's raising red flags for some activists. 2 of the black men on that jury are not African Americans, but rather black immigrants. Some are worried their background and worldview is vastly different than the African Americans who live in the neighborhood where Floyd was killed. I want to bring in Dr. Rashawn Ray, a professor of sociology at the University of Maryland, who researches racial and social inequities with a particular focus on police-civilian relations. Dr. Ray, thank you for being here with us, as always. Now, if you can, help us understand this point made by some of those activists. On the surface, we get to see this mixed jury, but help us understand why the experience of a black immigrant might be different from an African American.
Yeah, well, Lorenzo, it's always great to be on with you. I mean, when it comes to jury selection, it's a very big deal. We know historically that Black people and Black Americans are oftentimes excluded from the jury pool. And research documents that not having any diversity on the jury pool often leads to huge disparities in who's convicted, even when people are charged with the same crime. In this regard, what people are really highlighting is the differences between a Black American experience, what we would call being native born, being born in the United States, compared to being an immigrant. Now, research does document that there are some differences there. However, oftentimes when people have been in the United States for an extended period of time, particularly when people have children, they oftentimes start to realize that unfortunately our society is racialized, and they start to have similar experiences to native born Black people. But activists, their concerns are valid, and it's something that people should pay attention to.
Yeah, and on this same note here, we know that one juror, I believe it was juror 76, who spoke about his experience with racism here in the United States. He was struck. He wasn't selected. Now, should that lived experience discount someone from serving in a case like this one?
Well, no, it shouldn't, but unfortunately it does. So what people have to realize is that in a court of law, the prosecution and the defense has what we call preemptory strikes. This is the way in which lawyers can simply say, I don't want Rashawn, I don't want Lorenzo on the jury, and they don't have to necessarily say why. Now, oftentimes the metric that is used is how much do you know about the case, and also how impartial can you be. So when it comes to a case like this that's so racialized, pretty much everyone, not just in the US, but around the world knows about it. And when it comes to Black Americans, what people want to know is, can they be fair? Do they have a bias? However, we also need to ask those same questions to white Americans and non-Black people about whether or not they can be neutral and unbiased and receive new information. But one thing we know is that diversity always matters and oftentimes improves outcomes, particularly when it comes to jury selection.
Yeah, and what are you going to be paying close attention to during this trial?
You know, I'm really going to be paying attention to what the judge allows for the prosecution and the defense to bring into the courtroom. What I mean by that is Derek Chauvin's past history. We know that he has upwards of almost 20 documented allegations of police misconduct. We also know that the defense is trying to bring up George Floyd's his previous criminal record, as well as things related to whether or not he had any sort of substances in his system. But the bottom line is this: what most people know is that 8-minute and 40-second video, which I'm pretty sure the prosecution will play at the beginning and the end, will sway heavily on what the jury decides to do. And finally, I think, look, we have 3 charges. People have to realize there are 2 murder charges and 1 charge that's not a murder charge. They carry drastically different prison sentences. And even though there are maximum sentences of 40 and 25 years, Derek Chauvin probably won't serve that even if he's convicted of second-degree murder. So not only is it about whether or not he's going to get convicted, but what is he going to get convicted of, and what is the judge going to sentence him to?
All right, Dr. Ray, thank you for making us a little smarter tonight. Of course, we'll be talking with you throughout the trial as well.